What if Luke Skywalker joined the Imperial Academy? Check out the voice actor, Nick Cortez. He did a great job on this video, and check him out in the description. Let's start this story off when Luke is 16 years old. He stands at his home, the twin suns of Tatooine hanging overhead. The familiar hum of Uncle Owen's voice carried through the air, but Luke was only half listening, his mind elsewhere, as it often was these days. He felt a pull to something greater, something beyond the confines of this barren world. The stars above, glistening in the twilight, whispered promises of adventure and purpose. He felt trapped on Tatooine, and the Imperial Academy was one of the few opportunities to escape the Outer Rim for young people. Luke enjoyed the stories of the Empire's might, and tales of heroes from the Clone War filled his head. One night, Luke accessed his family's comm station and fills out the recruitment form, entering his age as 17 despite being younger, and sends it to his local academy. Despite the negative reputation of the Empire among some groups, the academy was presented as a prestigious institution, promising a future full of excitement and purpose. Days later, Luke stood on the outskirts of Anchorhead, looking back at his homestead one last time. He had left a note for his aunt and uncle, explaining that he had taken a job at Mos Eisley to help bring in credits, a half-truth to cover his sudden departure. He felt guilt, but he knew he was called to the stars. He boarded the shuttle and arrives at the closest academy to Tatooine. No longer just a moisture farmer, he was a cadet of the Imperial Academy, and his journey had just begun. Luke's time at the Imperial Academy was both thrilling and challenging, very different from his life he had left behind on Tatooine. He thinks about Uncle Owen and Beru often, how he left them alone, but knows he had to do this. The academy was a place where discipline and precision were paramount, and Luke quickly learned that success required more than just dreams and ambition. It required hard work, focus, and a relentless drive to be the best. From the very beginning, Luke stood out amongst his peers. His natural piloting skills, honed from countless hours of flying his T-16 back home, quickly caught the attention of his instructors. He had a knack for navigating complex flight patterns and executing maneuvers that left his fellow cadets in awe. There was something almost instinctual about the way he handled a starfighter, as if he could anticipate the ship's movements before they happened. It wasn't long before word spread amongst the instructors, and Luke found himself receiving more advanced training and was pushed harder than the others. One day, after a particularly grueling flight simulation, Commander Voss, one of the Academy's senior instructors, called Luke into his office. He tells Skywalker that he's been watching his progress, and he shows more promise than most, that the Empire needs pilots like him, who can think on their fleet and handle the pressures of battle. He tells him raw talent isn't enough, that he needs to be pushed to his limits. He concludes that Luke will be transferred to the Imperial Naval Academy, where he will receive specialized training that will prepare him for his future service in the Imperial Navy, and he has the potential to become one of the Empire's top pilots. The words sent a thrill through Luke. This is everything he had hoped for, a chance to prove himself and be a part of something bigger. The decision was made, and within weeks, Luke found himself aboard a transport bound for the Imperial Naval Academy, where his skills would be tested like never before. The academy was even more demanding than he had imagined. The instructors were merciless, pushing the cadets to their breaking points, both mentally and physically. But Luke thrived under the pressure. His instincts as a pilot only grew sharper, and he found himself excelling in areas he hadn't anticipated. Whether it was starfighter tactics, fleet maneuvers, or advanced simulations, Luke was always top of his class. Yet as the training intensified, Luke began to notice something strange. During particularly intense moments, when he needed to make a split-second decision or perform near-impossible maneuvers, he would feel a strange sensation and awareness that seemed to extend beyond his own senses. It was as if time slowed down, and he could see the path he needed to take before it happened. His reflexes became sharper, his aim more precise, and his ability to anticipate the actions of others almost uncanny. At first, Luke dismissed it as adrenaline, the natural result of high-stakes training. But the more it happened, the more he began to wonder if there was something more to it. He had heard stories, whispers among the older cadets about individuals with special abilities, people who could do things that defied explanation. The Jedi, a name long since turned into a cautionary tale by the Empire, came to mind, though Luke had always thought of them as nothing more than myths. Luke's curiosity ate at him. Late at night, when the other cadets were asleep, Luke would practice on his own, trying to tap into that strange feeling. He would focus on an object, willing it to move, or close his eyes during training simulations, relying solely on their instinctual sense to guide him. To his amazement, it worked, but Luke knew he had to be careful. The Empire was not known for tolerating anything that deviated from the norm, and he didn't fully understand what was happening to him. So he kept his growing abilities a secret, using them only when he was sure no one was watching. Luke spent the final year of his training at the Imperial Academy on Coruscant, the most prestigious academy in the galaxy, where high-ranking officials such as Thrawn have passed through. Luke took his piloting skills to the next level, utilizing the Force to do so. During this year, Luke continued to control his Force powers and could now use them at will. His instructors were impressed not only by his skills as a pilot, but his leadership abilities and tactical brilliance. Luke would graduate top of his class, and at the graduation ceremony, he received his certificate from Tarkin himself.
Cadet Skywalker, you're a distinguished member of the top of your class. The Empire expects great things from you.
Luke accepted the certificate with a sharp salute, his mind reeling. He had done it. He graduated as the top pilot of his class, and this feat would open doors to the most elite squadrons in the Imperial Navy. After the ceremony, Luke received his first assignment. He was to report to the Imperial fleet immediately, but what he didn't anticipate was the identity of his commanding officer. As he reads through his orders, his breath caught in his throat. He was being assigned to none other than Darth Vader's squadron. Darth Vader was a figure shrouded in mystery and fear, the Emperor's enforcer, and one of the most feared men in the entire galaxy. The thought of serving directly under him filled Luke with a mix of awe and anxiety. The first few missions with Vader's squadron were unlike anything Luke had experienced. The stakes were higher, the enemies more formidable, and the pressure to perform was immense. But Luke thrived in this environment. His instincts, powered by the Force, now more refined than ever, guided him through each battle, allowing him to anticipate enemy movement and execute maneuvers that far exceeded what his fellow pilots could do. However, this didn't capture the recognition of Vader until one mission. The mission stood out in particular. The squadron was being tasked with intercepting a rebel convoy that was attempting to flee with valuable intel. The mission was critical. Failure was not an option, and Vader made that clear. As they approached the convoy, they encountered a heavy rebel escort, and the battle quickly escalated into a full-scale dogfight. Luke's focus narrowed, his senses heightened. He could feel the ebbs and flows of the battle, the chaotic dance of starships weaving through the void. In the midst of the fight, Luke spotted an opportunity, a gap in the rebel formation that could turn the tide in their favor. Without hesitation, he took it, driving his TIE fighter through a hail of blaster fire, targeting the lead rebel ship. His shots were precise, each one finding its mark. The rebel formation faltered as Luke pressed the advantage, rallying his fellow pilots to exploit the opening. Within a moment, the convoy was in disarray, their defenses crumbling. The Empire's victory was swift and decisive. As the squadron regrouped, Darth Vader's ominous voice cracked over the comms.
Skywalker, you were most impressive.
The words sent a shiver down Luke's spine. To be recognized by Darth Vader himself was no small feat, but there was something more in Vader's tone, something that hinted at a deeper interest. Luke couldn't help but wonder what it meant. After the mission, as they returned to the fleet, Luke was summoned to Vader's personal quarters. The room was dimly lit, filled with the low hum of machinery, and Vader stood in the center, his imposing figure cast in shadows.
You performed well today, Skywalker. Your instincts serve you well. The Force is strong with you.
Luke's heart skipped a beat at the mention of the Force. He had never spoken of it to anyone, not even his instructors. Yet Vader knew.
I see potential. You are dismissed. We will discuss this further at a later time.
Luke nodded and left, but Vader couldn't believe what he had seen. The name Skywalker was a relic of the past, and yet here this boy was, strong in the Force and bearing the same name. It seemed too much to be mere coincidence. Vader believed his child had died with her mother Padme, but what if it wasn't true? What if that child survived and the Force had brought them together? Under the pretense of a routine medical exam required for all pilots, Vader ordered blood tests for Luke. Vader's breath caught as he reviewed the results. The boy's midichlorian count was exceptionally high, almost impossibly so, rivaling that of his own when he was younger. But it was the genetic markers that confirmed what Vader had suspected, the unmistakable evidence that could not be denied. Luke Skywalker was his son. The revelation sent a shockwave through Vader, stirring emotions he had long thought dead. Anger, confusion, and a strange, unexpected sense of hope surged within him. For so long, he had believed that his family was gone, that his legacy would die with him. But now, here was proof that his bloodline continued, that the Force had not abandoned him after all. But with that realization came a torrent of questions. Why had the Emperor never told him of the boy's existence? How had Luke remained hidden for so long? And most importantly, what should he do now? Vader knew that this discovery could change everything, both for himself and for the galaxy. As he stood in the darkness, the weight of this newfound knowledge pressed heavily on him. Vader had a son strong in the Force, a son who could be turned, who could join him and bring order to the galaxy. The possibilities were endless, but so too were the dangers. Hey guys, before I continue, I'd just like to shout out my saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, where we do high quality replica sabers as well as many unique saber designs. There are RGB or NeoPixel sabers available, the best on the market. Make sure to comment on this video your favorite saber to go in the draw to win a replica, the Sun Saber, marking the first month of our release. The sabers we're showing off this month are Dark Wolf, Kingsguard, and Void Blade, our favorites from the Padawan collection. These are all available in NeoPixel options, and make sure to check them out in the description. Now back to the video. Everything had changed for Vader. He had spent years serving the Emperor, enforcing the will of the Sith, but the son he believed lost was alive, strong in the Force and standing right before him. The potential that lay within Luke was immense, and Vader intended to shape it, to guide it and bring his son into the fold of the dark side. Vader summoned Luke to his quarters the next day. Luke entered the chamber, his mind racing, wondering if he was in any trouble for hiding his powers.
What do you know of your father?
This question confused Luke. What interest could Vader have in his father? But Luke told him everything he knew, that his father navigated a spice freighter, but died many years ago.
So, these are the lies that they have told you. There is something that you must know. Something that has been hidden from you and me for a long time.
Luke's heart began to race. He had no idea where this conversation was going, but the gravity in Vader's voice told him it was something of great importance.
Your name is more than just a coincidence. The Force is strong with you, far stronger than any of your peers. That is not by chance. It is because you are my son.
Luke felt as though the ground had been ripped out from beneath him, his mind struggling to process what Vader had just said. Luke tells him that it can't be true, that he must be lying.
I do not lie, Luke. You are the son of Anakin Skywalker, my former self, and Padme Amidala.
Luke took a step back, his thoughts spinning. Luke asks Vader how this could be possible.
The truth was hidden from both of us, but the Force has brought us together, and I have come to claim you as my heir. You have the potential to become more powerful than you could possibly imagine, Luke. Together, we can bring order to the galaxy.
Luke has always wondered about his father, and now the man he had dreamed of many times was in front of him. He asks Vader what he wants from him.
Embrace your destiny. Join me, and I will train you in the ways of the Force. The power I possess flows through you. The instincts that guide you in battle, that is the living Force. And with my training, you can learn to harness it, to command it.
Luke's thoughts raced as he felt drawn to Vader and the power Vader spoke of. He asks Vader what he must do.
You will join the Inquisitors. There you will be trained in the dark side of the Force. I will oversee your training personally. You will learn to channel your anger, fear, your hatred into power. And when the time comes, you will take your place at my side.
The transition from Imperial pilot to apprentice of the dark side was a complete 180 for Luke. Under Darth Vader's tutelage, he was pushed to the very brink of his abilities, both physically and mentally. Vader's methods were harsh, designed to break Luke's spirit and rebuild him into a weapon of the dark side. Every lesson, every mission, was a step further into the abyss, and with each step, Luke's power grew. The training was brutal. Vader taught Luke to harness his emotions, his fear, anger, and hatred, and to use them as fuel for his growing connection to the Force. The dark side was seductive, a wellspring of raw power that surged through Luke like a raging fire. He learned to manipulate it, to bend it to his will, and in doing so, he became stronger than he ever imagined. One of his first true tests of his new abilities came during a mission to hunt down a Jedi who had survived Order 66 and eluded the Empire this entire time. A Jedi Padawan named Gungi, hiding in the shadows of the Outer Rim. But no one could hide forever, not from Vader's Inquisitors. Vader took Luke with him to the jungle world where Gungi had been tracked, a planet teeming with life and danger. The hunt was relentless, and Gungi was skilled, his connection to the Force strong. The confrontation took place deep within the dense jungle, where the trees blotted out the sun, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Gungi fought bravely, his green lightsaber humming through the air as he deflected Luke's powerful strikes. Vader coached Luke through the fight as he disarmed Gungi, sending the Padawan's saber spinning through the air. Luke stepped forward, and Gungi, wounded and defenseless, looked up at Luke with eyes that held no hate, only a deep sadness. But Luke could not allow himself to feel pity. He had to let go of his past, to embrace the future Vader had promised him. In a swift motion, Luke brought down his blade, ending the Padawan's life.
Well done, my son.
Vader reached down and picked up Gungi's lightsaber, holding it out to Luke.
The crystal inside this weapon is the heart of a Jedi's power, but it is not yet yours. To truly wield it, you must make it bleed.
Luke took the saber from Vader, and he felt the kyber crystal pulsate within, a faint energy, as if it was still alive, connected to the light. He concentrated on it, focusing all his anger, hatred, and pain into it. He forced it to submit to his will, as the crystal began to change. It began to crack, its internal structure twisting and turning as it absorbed the dark side. And then it bled. The crystal glowed a deep malevolent red, the color of the dark side.
Your journey is now complete. You are now Sith, and have earned the place by my side. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Nightbringer. The Empire will finally be ours.
Vader is happy with Luke's progress, and believes now they can defeat the Emperor. However, far across the galaxy, the Emperor's spies reported something to him that was most disappointing. News that Vader had been training his own secret apprentice. Palpatine had long been aware of Vader's ambitions, his constant crave for power, but his apprentice was growing powerful, and Palpatine could not allow this threat to continue. But despite Palpatine's immense power and foresight, he had not yet realized the true identity of Vader's apprentice. He believed him to be nothing more than another tool, a weapon Vader sought to wield against him, but the truth was far more dangerous. Determined to eliminate this threat, Palpatine summoned Vader and his apprentice Luke to the throne room. He would deal with them both, and in doing so, would remind Vader of his place in the Sith hierarchy. To assist in this task, Sidious called upon his own secret apprentice, his Sith assassin, Mara Jade, loyal to the Emperor. Vader and Luke arrived in the throne room together, a hint of fear behind Vader's mask. He wished to confront Palpatine in a different manner, but knew he could not ignore a command.
You have been keeping secrets from me, Lord Vader.
Vader remained silent as Luke stood by his side, the tension in the room growing. He could sense the dark side radiating from Palpatine, stronger than he could have ever imagined.
The apprentice you have trained in the shadows. Did you think I would not discover this betrayal? Did you truly think you could raise a challenger to my throne without consequences?
Luke's hand instinctively moved towards his lightsaber, but a subtle gesture from Vader stopped him.
You misunderstand, my master. This apprentice is no threat to you. He is but a tool to serve the Empire, to serve us.
A tool? I see a weapon, one that could be turned against me, and I will not allow it.
With a swift motion, Palpatine raised his hands, and from the shadows emerged Mara Jade, her lightsaber ready and ignited.
Good. Kill the boy. Show Lord Vader the price of treachery.
Mara moves with lethal precision, her lightsaber slashing through the air as she charges at Luke. But Palpatine had made a mistake. He had underestimated the bond between father and son, and had not anticipated the full extent of Luke's power. Luke ignited his own blade and met Mara's attack and drew upon the dark side to unleash his ferocity. Vader turned to Palpatine as the two engaged in a duel of their own, Vader believing the moment of his triumph was upon them. Luke, sensing his father's intentions, overwhelmed Mara's defenses and disarmed her lightsaber and sent her flying back with a blast of the Force, knocking her unconscious. Luke turned to Vader and Palpatine as the Emperor realizes his mistakes. He had underestimated the power of Luke as Vader's son joins the battle.
Who is the boy, Vader? Who is this apprentice that you dare bring before me?
Vader pauses for a moment.
He is my son.
Palpatine's eyes widen in shock, the truth of the situation now revealed. He had underestimated the son of Anakin Skywalker, the heir to the greatest power in the Force. Together, Vader and Luke advanced, attacking in unison until they cracked Palpatine's defenses, and Vader struck him down as the Emperor, once the most feared man in the galaxy, fell to the floor, his body lifeless. Mara knelt on the floor, watching her master die, and she knew her fate will follow. But Luke asks Vader to spare her, that she is not their enemy, and can fight by their side.
Very well. Rise, Mara Jade. Your service to the Emperor has ended. Now you will serve us.
With Palpatine dead, the throne was now vacant, and there were only two who could claim it.
Luke, the Empire is ours. We will bring order to the galaxy.
However, one part of the story that we haven't covered is Obi-Wan. After Luke's disappearance on Tatooine, Obi-Wan felt as if he had failed his mission to protect the boy, not knowing what had become of him. He meditated and used the Force to look for answers, but nothing revealed itself. He went to Mos Eisley because of the note Luke left Owen, but the boy was nowhere to be found. Kenobi had to give up on him and move to the next prospect. He travels to Alderaan and sought out Bail Organa. Upon his arrival, Obi-Wan explained the urgency of the situation, that Luke had disappeared, and that it's imperative that they protect and train his sister Leia. Bail was hesitant at first. He had raised Leia as his own daughter, shielding her from the dangers of the galaxy and dark legacy of her father. But Obi-Wan's words were convincing, and Bail knew the time had come to reveal the truth. They both sit down with Leia as she recognizes Obi-Wan as the man who saved her many years ago. She had grown into a strong-willed and capable young woman, and with great care, they told her of her true origins, that she was not the daughter of Bail and Bail Organa, but rather the daughter of Anakin Skywalker, one of the most powerful Jedi to ever live. They did not reveal the full extent of her father's fall, choosing to spare her of the knowledge that Anakin had become Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. Leia was shocked by the revelation, but her strength of character allowed her to process the information. She had always felt she was destined for something greater, and now with this knowledge, she understood why. She accepted the truth, recognizing the importance of her heritage, and agreed to Obi-Wan's offer to train her in the Force. Her training as a Jedi began. Obi-Wan guided her with the wisdom of a seasoned Jedi Master, teaching her the fundamentals of the Force, lightsaber combat, and the philosophies of the Jedi Order. Leia proved to be a quick learner, her natural affinity of the Force becoming apparent as she progressed in her training. She exhibited strength and determination that reminded Obi-Wan of both Padme and Anakin. Yet she also possessed a calm and thoughtful nature, traits that balanced her innate power. Over the next 3 years, her power grew exponentially. She learned to wield the Force with precision, honing her skills in combat. Yoda left his exile on Dagobah and made the journey to Alderaan to assist in Leia's training. The presence of Yoda brought a new depth to Leia's lessons as he shared his vast knowledge of the Force and his wisdom accumulated over the centuries. Together, Obi-Wan and Yoda trained her in secret, and as the years passed, she grew stronger, her connection to the Force deepening with each passing day. Meanwhile, Luke and Vader's rise to power was swift and absolute. They seized control of the Empire, crushing any resistance with ruthless efficiency. But during this time, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Leia joined the Rebel Alliance at the time of the invasion of Scarif, in search for the Death Star plans. They launched their assault on the Imperial base, hoping to steal the plans and find a way to destroy the Death Star before it could be used against them. Together alongside the Rebel Alliance, the Jedi infiltrate the Imperial base, making their way to the main tower where the plans were stored. However, across the galaxy, Luke and Vader fall to their knees. Sensing a divergence in the Force, as their mind filled with images of Scarif and a young woman brandishing a blue lightsaber on the planet alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi. Vader rises and sets coordinates there immediately. Kenobi has returned, and alongside him an apprentice of his own. This is Vader's chance, and they come out of hyperspace to attack the rebel fleet. Vader could feel Kenobi was here, and he commanded his forces to deal with the rebel fleet as he and his son would find the Jedi. As the Jedi reached the tower and downloaded the plans, a chill ran down their spine. A dark presence loomed over the planet, Vader and Luke alongside Mara Jade. As the Jedi opened the elevator doors to leave the data vault with the plans, they found themselves face to face with the trio of Sith. Without a word, the battle erupted. Luke and Leia charged at Obi-Wan, Kenobi meeting his attack, the blue blade clashing with Luke's in a violent storm of strikes and parries. Meanwhile, Vader and Yoda engaged in a battle of their own. Two titans of the Force had vengeance behind their movements. Leia faced off against Mara Jade, and the two women fought with deadly grace, their lightsabers dancing through the air as they tested each other's defenses. As the battle raged on, it was clear the Jedi were outmatched. Luke tapped into the full power of the dark side, overpowering Obi-Wan, driving him to his knees. With a final cutthroat strike, Luke's red blade cut through Obi-Wan's defenses, piercing Kenobi's chest and killing him. Leia screamed in pain as she watched her mentor be killed, and Mara Jade took the opportunity to advance forward. Vader felt joy, watching his son enact his revenge, which empowered him in battle. He reached out with the Force, probing deep into the Jedi Grandmaster's mind. Yoda resisted, but Vader's power was too much, and in that moment, Vader saw the truth. Leia was his daughter, the twin sister of Luke, and the last hope of the Jedi. With Obi-Wan's death and the raw emotions that Leia was experiencing, Vader saw an opportunity to turn her to the dark side.
Leia,
Vader's voice boomed across the battlefield.
your master is dead. The Jedi have failed you, just as they failed me. Join us, and you will have the power to avenge Obi-Wan's death, to bring peace and order to the galaxy.
Leia, shaken by Obi-Wan's death, hesitated as her defenses wavered. She felt the pull to the dark side, the temptation to give into her anger and grief. But Vader wasn't done. He pressed on, his words laced with the seductive power of the dark side.
He kept the truth from you, Leia. Your father, Anakin Skywalker, was once the greatest living Jedi. But the Order betrayed him. Together we can destroy them and rule the galaxy as father, son, and daughter.
The words struck Leia with the force of 1,000 blasters. Her mind raced as she tried to reconcile the truth. Obi-Wan had hidden so much from her, and now, in the face of overwhelming power and loss, the darkness called to her. It promised her the strength to protect those she loved, to prevent further suffering and loss. The image of Obi-Wan's death replaying in her mind as Leia stood there vulnerable. Mara Jade pounced, looking for the killing blow, but Vader gripped Mara with the Force and threw her across the battlefield. Vader's presence loomed over Leia, his will bending her to the dark side. And then, with a final heart-wrenching decision, Leia extinguished her lightsaber and dropped to one knee before Vader and pledged herself to his teachings. Vader looked down at his daughter, a feeling of satisfaction. The Skywalker bloodline will continue, united in the dark side, stronger than ever.
Daughter, rise, and together we will bring order to the galaxy.
Vader found himself surrounded by the Force Sith as they moved in unison and used the dark side to overwhelm the Jedi. Yoda's death symbolized the death of the Jedi Order and the Sith victorious. With the Jedi's death, the tide of the battle on Scarif turned in the favor of the Empire. They prevented the rebellion from obtaining the Death Star plans, and the Imperial fleet, led by Vader, pursued the retreating forces, tracking them back to their hidden base on Yavin 4. The Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon, followed close behind. With the rebels' base located, there was no escape. As the superweapon charged, the rebels made a desperate attempt to flee, but it was too late. In a blinding flash of light, the Death Star fired, obliterating Yavin 4 and everyone on it. The Rebel Alliance, once a symbol of hope and resistance, was no more. With the rebellion destroyed, the galaxy fell into darkness. The Empire, now ruled by Vader, Luke, and Leia, expanded its influence to cover every corner of the galaxy. The Skywalkers, united in the dark side, brought order through fear and power. they began to identify and train Force-sensitive individuals, indoctrinating them into the Sith ways. These new Sith warriors were loyal to the Skywalker family, forming the backbone of their Sith empire. Luke and Mara Jade became married and began a family of their own. Their children, strong in the Force, were groomed from birth to be the future leaders of the Sith empire. Leia, now fully embraced by the dark side, married one of the most powerful Sith warriors, a man who matched her in both strength and ambition. Together they too started a family, their children destined to continue the Skywalker legacy. Under the rule of the Skywalker family, the galaxy knew no opposition. Their power was absolute, and their control unchallenged. The dark side expanded, conquering worlds and bringing them under the dominion of the dark side. In the grand room of the Imperial Palace on Coruscant, Vader, Luke and Leia stood together, their vision of the galaxy complete. The Skywalker bloodline had secured its place as the ultimate power in the galaxy, their influence extending to every star system. Every member of his family was present in the throne room as Vader took the stage, speaking the final words that would define the new age.
The Force is ours, and through it, we will shape the destiny of the galaxy. The Skywalker legacy will endure forever.
Ignite your imagination with fantasy sabers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out What If Padme Amidala was a Sith Lord and What If Anakin became the Emperor. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out the voice actor Nick Cortez. His link will be in the description. Please comment what you thought of the video, and finally, don't forget to check out Fantasy Sabers for the best and high quality replica sabers as well as unique saber designs on the market. Ignite your imagination with Fantasy Sabers.